Welcome to today's video where we're going to go over chain reaction number 1 of the 6 chain reactions from forced RMDs or required minimum distributions that will hit you in retirement if you keep your funds in a qualified account like a 401k or IRA. Now we're going to show you just how hard it can hurt your quality of life by taking away a huge part of your retirement income through taxes, not to mention leaving you susceptible to even more losses if the government decides to raise taxes on us in the future. Now, today is all about how RMDs can cause a dramatic increase in your AGI, or adjusted gross income. What that can do is it can put you in a higher tax bracket throughout retirement, whether you like it or not. Well, I find it best to just use some examples. Obviously, you're probably going to be in a different scenario or situation, but this is going to give you a good idea of what to be aware of and what to look out for when it comes to taxes in retirement. And of course, if we do meet up for a free review analysis, we're going to look specifically at your situation or your scenario and exactly what we can do to help you based on your, again, numbers, to help you properly plan ahead. Okay, that's very important to get the most out of your hard-earned money when you're in retirement at a time when you need every single penny when it counts. Okay, so let's go over here. We have John and Mary. They're both 60 years old. They worked hard their entire lives and they maxed out their 401ks by saving diligently, and they never missed a contribution. Okay, they worked hard, never missed it. Now today they have $1 million saved up. And like most Americans, right, they believe that they're going to be in a lower tax bracket when they get to retirement. Well, their current adjusted gross income, that's their household income, right, is $120,000 a year. And that puts them into a 22% tax bracket right now. The good news is for them, they're going to get a routine 3% annual increase in their income, a raise every year, 3% annually. So what we want to do is we want to review their 3% annual raise of income each and every year to the age of 95. Because if they continue to work to age 95, we want to see what that looks like. And their income would be up to $338,000 by that age. At age 80, you can see it was $217,000 a year, which bumped them up into the 24% tax bracket. Really not too bad, not too big of a deal overall, and nothing to really worry about. No harm, no foul, right? But don't forget, they waited to pay their taxes on their IRA. So they have to do those RMDs down the road because, well, they have to, it's required. But they were told they're going to be in a lower tax bracket by their financial advisor. But in my experience, many diligent savers discover that they're actually in the same or even higher tax brackets in retirement than what they expected. The people that are actually in a lower tax bracket when they go to retire are the ones that did a really bad job of saving or a really good job of planning ahead by working with someone like me. So at age 75, when their RMDs kick in, they have to pull out $97,000 that year. And each year they have to pull out more and more because, well, Uncle Sam says the closer you get to death, the more money we need to pull from you before you pass away. But don't worry, they have a backup if you pass away before you get all the taxes paid on it, which oftentimes is even higher taxes. But here, as you can see, by the age of 95, John and Mary will be required to pull out $269,000 out of their portfolio that year, whether they need that money or not. So think about it. What if you only needed $80,000 that year? Well, too bad. The IRS doesn't care what you need. They care what they require. That's why it's called required minimum distributions. So the next step is that we need to actually add these RMDs to their income because that's part of their adjusted gross income. So by adding these RMDs to their income at age 75, assuming they're still working, right, and still getting income coming in, that taxable income source can be added from, other sources of income from real estate or pensions or other investments. But basically, we're just going to figure their adjusted gross income is their RMDs from the savings they have for the $1 million, and then their household working income with that 3% raise each and every year. You can see at age 75, it's $284,000. That's $284,000 now that they're going to be taxed on, which now jumps them up into the 24% tax rate, not the 22%. Taxes go up at all. That could get worse and worse over the next 10 and 15 years. I don't know. But by the age of 85, they're now in the 32% tax bracket. At age 95, they're in the 35% tax bracket each and every year there on out. Now this, you got to remember, is a time when they may not need as much money to live off of unless they're in a situation for assisted living or some sort of nursing care facility. But this is a time when they really want to leave as much of their hard-earned money to their family as they possibly can, but they're losing 35% a year just to taxes, plus state taxes. So that could be over 40% a year to Uncle Sam between the state and federal taxes, plus other fees that we're going to go over in later videos that we're going to talk about for IRMA charges. But as for John and Mary, they became a retirement millionaire couple, right? Their retirement income, like I said, eventually reaches over $600,000 a year, as you can see here. As for John and Mary, they became retirement millionaires, right? Their retirement income eventually reached over $600,000 a year. And it sounds great, right? Except nearly 40% was going to taxes between state and federal. Now, what if I told you $1 million IRA could quietly create $1 million tax bill? Sounds impossible, but it's not, because we're going to look at John and Mary's numbers here. So let's add up their taxes that they've paid over the years. So at age 75, they're in the 24% tax bracket. They paid Uncle Sam $23,000 that year. But let's add up each and every year. And by the age of 95, you can see that they will have paid out nearly $1 million in just taxes alone to the federal and state taxes. And this is just federal showing right here. So whatever your tax bracket is for your state, add that to it on top of it. So nearly $1 million is paid out to Uncle Sam. Now, to you, I don't know what that means, but to me, that's an enormous amount of money lost from your very hard-earned money savings that you could have kept if you had planned away by converting to a Roth IRA. The good news is that this doesn't just have to be the case for everybody if you plan ahead. Because as I mentioned earlier, by planning ahead, using our proprietary software, meeting with me, we can assess your current situation and strategy to see what we can do to improve upon it. So like in this case with them, we improved upon it by nearly $4 million. But the best part is that we could see what their current trajectory and baseline would have been if they didn't convert. So they got to make an educated decision based off of simple math as if a conversion is the appropriate route to go or not. And as you can see here, we see their current baseline trajectory at 5.88 million, right? That's what they would have made in their total lifespan with doing what they're doing after taxes. And then, of course, when you pass that on, it's going to be taxed again to their loved ones. But they would have paid $662,000 in taxes and IRMA charges. Versus the blueprint, our trajectory of what we would do if we made some changes, we can see that they're actually going to end up paying half in taxes, $340,000. And then their total blueprint, total growth and income and everything that they will have received will be $9.6 million. That's $3.7 million more by doing a Roth IRA conversion. And what you're not seeing here that I did show an example of on our first video is that this software will assess, this was over 1,500 different optimized scenarios to see which one would be the best scenario for their situation. And this is what they ended up with. But ultimately, this is really just how simple and easy it is to plug in your specific numbers, focus on your goals, what you're trying to achieve, go through thousands of scenarios, let the software do the work for us in that case. And then we can see how easy it is, like for them, to have a 64% increase in their total lifespan over if they just stuck with what they were traditionally told to do. Now remember, higher AGI isn't the problem. Higher AGI is the trigger from these RMDs. In our next video, I'm going to go and show you how that trigger causes more of your Social Security benefits to become taxable. And that's chain reaction number 2. So if you'd like to see your own numbers, I offer a complimentary, no pressure, no obligation Roth blueprint analysis, of course, where we're going to compare your current path against a potential optimized path and let the math speak or do the work for itself. That helps you to decide if this makes sense or not, based off the math. If it does, great. If it doesn't, great. At least you know you're right on the right track. So click on my calendar link in the description or on top of my YouTube page or this QR code. You can take a picture of that. And please, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you can get a future list of all the, or not the future list, but a future notification of my next video that's coming out. So please stay tuned because the next video we're going to be covering the second RMD, which is that chain reaction of taxes on your Social Security income.